Welcome everyone to Living with the Times. This past Shabbat was the 10th day of the month of Shvat, and in Chabad, it is a very big day for two reasons. One, it's the Yurtzeit of the Frierdiker Rebbe, the day that the Frierdiker Rebbe, the sixth Rebbe of Chabad, passed away. And on that very same day, on Yud Shvat, 1 year later, Menachem Mendel Schneerson rose to take the what's called the Nesiyut, the leadership of the Chabad movement, and that was in 1951. The Frierdiker Rebbe passed away in 1950 on Yud Shvat, and the Rebbe became Rebbe on Yud Shvat in 1951. And for over 40 years, he led the Chabad movement from a relatively very small group of people in Brooklyn, New York, to a worldwide spiritual kingdom. And to really understand how that happened, we have to go back to the Baal Shem Tov, the initiator of the Hasidic movement. And in 1746, he had what is called an Aliyat Neshama, an elevation of soul. And he found himself in the presence of the soul of the Mashiach. And he asked him, like one of the great sages, Yeshua ben Levi, 2,000 years ago, who also had the same kind of elevation of soul and was able to be in the presence of the soul of the Mashiach. And he asked, when is the Master coming? So the Baal Shem Tov also asked, when is the Master coming? And the soul of Mashiach answered him, when the well springs of your Torah reach the farthest limits. Meaning the Mashiach was putting it back into the hands of the Baal Shem Tov, that these teachings, the deep teachings of Chassidut and the mystical tradition, when they reach the whole world, then the Mashiach will come. And so the Lubavitcher Rebbe took these words very, very seriously and understood that this was the mission of the Hasidic movement, and set up institutions literally around the world. It says in the Zohar and the Tanya as well, that when a tzaddik leaves this world, their energy is spread even greater. The soul is eternal. The soul has a godly spark to it, an actual part of God above. And so when a soul leaves this world, sometimes without the boundaries of physicality, it can have even more influence. When the Lubavitcher Rebbe passed away 29 years ago, so many people questioned, would Chabad survive? Because there was no successor named. And to this day, there is no successor. The Rebbe, for all practical purposes, is still the leader of Chabad. And approximately when he passed away, there were around 1,000 Chabad institutions around the world. 29 years later, there's close to 3,000 Chabad institutions. It is truly phenomenal what Chabad has done. And there's a story in the Tanakh that shows us when Elijah the prophet was getting ready to leave this world, his appointed successor was Elisha. And when Elisha understood that his Rebbe was about to leave this world, he asked him for double his spirit. And Eliyahu Navi said, if you see me rising to heaven in a fiery chariot, if you actually see that, you will be blessed with double my spirit. So Elijah did ascend to heaven in a fiery chariot. And the beautiful thing is in the book of Kings, there are 8 different miracles attributed to Elijah the prophet. And to Elisha, exactly double, 16. So when the Friedeker Rebbe left the world on Yud Shvat, so his successor, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, who always saw his father-in-law as his Rebbe, so he took the energy of his father-in-law and he took the energy from the Baal Shem Tov and he spread the light of Torah, Hasidus, the mystical tradition, literally around the world. And so it's very significant that both of these events happened in the month of Shvat, because in a few days will be Tu B'Shvat, the new year of the trees, when the sap will begin to rise through the roots to the trunk of the tree, which will produce the eventual leaves and buds and fruit. And so the month of Shvat is all about growth, and that is what the Lubavitcher Rebbe, all of them, were about, was constant growth, constant renewal, and constant spreading the light of Torah. So one does not have to be a Chabadnik to appreciate Chabad. And so I've had the great privilege to work with Chabad around the world. And I could say, Baruch Hashem for Chabad.